This is a second go at yesterday's Lost Highway review because my brother also watched the movie with me and I didn't get his take for last night's video. And
Had some thoughts.
We're
We're
gonna-
gonna start with a brief plot summary. Justin, you wanna
we're gonna
start us off here?
okay. So the first shot of the movie, the very first thing we see in the movie is this guy, this sort of handsome leading man type, strong, silent, Bill Pullman as Fred.
Sax player.
He's a musician. He wakes up in his room. His buzzer is buzzing, and he goes to the buzzer, answers it, and who's ever outside the door tells him Dick Laurent is dead. Then the remainder of the first several scenes is acquainting us with this guy and his wife, and we get the sense that their marriage is a little bit on the rocks. There's a little suspicion and maybe some infidelity on the wife's part. And then they start receiving these threatening videotapes in the mail, which show the cameraman, whoever is holding the camcorder, coming in through the house into their room, videotaping them sleeping. They call the cops. We meet these two cop characters, who we're going to see again later in the movie.
Yeah.
Then they attend this party of one of the wife's friends, who we get the sense she's sleeping with.
Yeah, this guy, Andy, but he's got like this pencil thin mustache and tiny goatee. But anywho, Fred, Fred's wife and this host, Andy, begin talking to each other, and then she kind of like waves him off or something, and he goes off in the party and has this conversation with this super ghoulish kind of Nosferatu-looking individual who has this weird conversation with him, like, we've met before, haven't we, and stuff like this. And it's like this weird metaphysical being who's somehow at the party but also at the guy's house and telling him we met at your house.
Right, so this is by far the creepiest guy we've met in the movie, and also the most badass scene in the movie so far. He's having the guy call his own house, and then the man who's standing in front of him is also on the other end of the line.
Yeah.
Very
Then the ghoulish guy laughs and wanders off, and Andy comes up to Fred. Fred asks Andy, "Who's that man? Who was that?" And Andy goes, "Oh, that's a friend of Dick Laurent."
You didn't say the part that he said first.
What did he say first?
He said, "I'm a friend of Dick Laurent's. Dick Laurent is dead," which is what Fred heard the guy on the other side of the buzzer say. Then Andy says, "Yeah, Dick Laurent is dead."
How do you know that?
How do you know that? And then he contradicts himself to say Dick Laurent can't be dead.
Yeah, Dick Laurent can't be dead. And the wife wanders up and she goes, "Oh, what's wrong?" So anyways, then after that they go home and rubs.
They search the house because, of course, the guy had the creepy phone call, plus he saw some light in the house, so he thinks that there could be an intruder, but there isn't. They don't find one. But in the course of searching, they find a third videotape which shows not only the person entering their house and going into their bedroom, but then in the bedroom we see Fred standing over his wife's dismembered body. And with no further explanation than that, suddenly Fred is in a police interrogation and going into jail. Fred spends a night in the jail cell, or some period of time in the jail cell. At some point he transforms into another dude that the cops don't recognize, which is this other character, Pete, this dude. Totally unrelated character, Pete.
He's not a dude. He's a man.
Well, you're not a man, you're a dude.
Well, I didn't say anything about me. I was talking about this man, but then you just had to... Now we're just trying to hurt each other.
I prefer to call him a dude. Wow. So Pete, which is played by a totally different actor, wakes up in Fred's jail cell. Now suddenly, for the middle third of the movie, we're following his life. He has a tangle with a mob boss that involves a mistress they're both sharing, basically, which played by Patricia Arquette, the same woman who played Fred's wife in the first act, except that
now she's blonde.
Now she has a different colored hair and I think a different character name. She ensnares Pete, which we have the sense is a Twilight Zone version of Fred, or maybe a different guy. We don't know if they're the same guy or a different guy.
Yeah.
Now that we're getting involved with a girl who we don't know if she's the same girl or a different girl. She kind of ensnares him, involves him in
this sort of seedy
the underworld of organized crime and pornographers. She recruits him to kill this guy that is not restraining her, but surveilling her at least on behalf of the mob boss. Which happens to be Andy, the guy from earlier who was having the party. Pete and the blonde woman flee into the desert together. There's a weird sex scene out there. There's been an insane number of sex scenes throughout the whole
Yeah.
movie. An immense amount of sex scenes. Way too many.
Pete and the blonde woman make love in the desert. First, we weren't sure about this woman if they were actually falling in love, but very clearly this woman is this kind of femme fatale character, and she's manipulating Pete to her own ends. At some point, he realizes what's going on. He's like, "Why me?" And then that's when they make love or whatever. And then she delivers this like super cold line, and then she walks off. And the next time we see Pete stand up, he's Fred again.
Right, he's transformed back to Bill Pullman. There's like one last execution in the desert, which involves the scary Nosferatu mystery man from the party scene and the mob boss, neither of whom were there 5 minutes earlier. Throughout the whole second act, Pete and his various